All right, I'm sure he will join us shortly. So why don't we start? You already met Maman. He's the Chief Technology Officer for the ISCJ companies. We have Naveed Iqbal, he's the Director of Operational Risk Technology at Citigroup. We have Umar Nishtar, he's a database engineer at the Elastic Institute, and he's head of technology strategy and innovation with Bessemer Trust. Right? So, all right, folks, let's sit down, settle down. We're going to start the next conversation. The people who are talking to each other, I think you'll have ample opportunity in the next 30-40 minutes. Please sit down so everybody, others can hear. Thank you. Okay, so the next topic, right, is about these emerging technologies that are coming up. And we heard in the first panel as well a little bit folks alluding to these cloud technology, big data, so on and so forth, right? But when we look around us, a lot of the companies are investing in new technologies. Folks, please keep your noise level down in the room. Please help us keep a professional environment for the folks who are getting tea. You will get tea. And we heard a little bit about data security, social platforms coming up. So we wanted to just open it up to the conversation here. Maybe Farooq, why don't I start with you? We heard this thing called Bitcoin. We heard this thing called blockchain and all of that, and the disruption that it's causing in not just financial services, right? It belongs to financial services, but in other industries as well. So just, I'm sure most of you know, but just for others who don't, what are these things and how are they impacting and changing the financial services industry?
Thank you, Amir. You know the volume a little bit. Thank you, Assalamu alaikum. Farooq Zafar. Before I start, I would like to take a second and thank Amir for inviting us and the panelists here. Looking at the turnout, I'm not a regular visitor here at the Islamic Center. I'm truly impressed. So a big hand please for Amir and all the organizers. Thank you very much. This is a great event. When I look at first of all, before I start, just to keep it practical, because I talk about technology, strategy, innovation all day long as a professional. So I can talk about big ideas, but I want to keep it very practical. How many people in this room are actually looking for a job? Just show of hands. Okay, good. Thank you. So I think it's one to keep it very practical, because as we talk about these trends, the question would be, what skills do I need to develop to get there? What are the practical skills, and how do I approach them? So talking about cryptocurrency, just stepping back again for a second, when I look at the broader technology market, there are four sort of, I'm sorry? Okay, good. I have to practice on my vocal skills. When I look at the broader market, I have four key buckets conceptually. You've got the bucket of processes, namely, whether it's you talk about design thinking, agile, user experience, DevOps. We have technologies, whether it's cloud, blockchain, digital, mobile. We have the way to organize ourselves, so it's aligning with business capabilities, collaborative structure, and finally we have skills. And this is where I think I just want to get a sense as to how many of these folks sitting here are looking for careers or would like to switch careers. So blockchain is an emerging, totally disruptive technology. I think it was a few months ago I met with this very prominent executive. She's an ex-JP Morgan CFO by the name of Blythe Masters. Has anyone heard of her in the room? Okay. So she is now the CEO of a company called Digital Asset Holdings. And as I was talking to her, she said, Zafar, we should be paying attention to blockchain just as closely as we did when internet was being developed back in the early 90s. This is a truly disruptive technology, and I'll tell you the implication on your careers. The blockchain, when you think about a ledger, first question is, what is blockchain? It's a ledger. So traditionally, when you have a ledger, you keep track of who owns what. So when you buy a home, for example, you go to a title company and they run a background check on the title to make sure that there's no previous ownership and it's all clear. So blockchain is a ledger, but it's different from the traditional ledger in every single way you can think of. It's public, it's decentralized. So anytime you want to keep track of ownership, whether you're keeping track of diamonds or stock certificates, you can use this technology. Now there are dozens of companies, particularly in the fintech area that are now coming up. Is one of those areas, if you're looking for a career over the next, I think, 3 to 5 years, this is one of the hottest fields. So if you can develop some skills in how to work with blockchain, I'm not talking about bitcoins here, I'm talking about blockchain particularly, and how to program around that and explore the fintech market, which is very active in leveraging blockchain to build some kind of a business model around that. This is one hot area. Back to you, Amir.
So I think it all started with Bitcoin, where initially the idea was to have a non-traceable currency or currency that is available but people can buy and sell without having a centralized authority, which in today's environment is a bit counterintuitive given everything that is going on with the under-the-table money and under-the-table economy and everything else. However, blockchain is an effort to formalize it a little bit more, to have proper ownership related to it. I think it is an emerging standard. How far it will go will depend. Again, it is against the true, proper Wall Street media, where a lot of other things that are going on, and I don't think Wall Street is going to take it laying down. But it is definitely a technology to watch out for and stay close to, and a lot of business opportunities. Bottom line, for this room and from this perspective, I would say think about an idea that can leverage that, to think about a startup company or something like that. That's where the most bucks are coming.
So just like the previous panel, right? Any questions in the room? Raise your hands on these emerging technologies. Gentlemen.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Zaman Khan. I work for a consulting firm in New York. So we heard some buzzwords here today, like blockchain, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, for example. They sound fancy, look great on paper, but realistically speaking, how receptive are organizations, let's just say within financial industry or even tech, to implement such technology? And then a second part of the question, perhaps a follow-up question, is from a very high level, if you can tell us, what are some of the challenges that are associated with the implementation of such technology?
It's a great question. I think when it comes to cryptocurrency, Wall Street is somewhat skeptical about that. Bitcoin, I mean, I know Citi, Amir has developed Citicoin. I was recently at BNY Mellon innovation headquarters. They have developed their own cryptocurrency, just to award internally. But when it comes to blockchain, which is the underlying enabling technology, let me be very clear, there's no hype around that. It's actually underhyped at this point. If you go ahead and Google that, or go to Indeed if you're looking for a career in blockchain, there simply aren't enough people to fill those roles in blockchain. So I think this is one of the hardest skills. Now, when it comes to how Wall Street is embracing the technology, there's a consortium of 20 leading banks, global banks, that have joined this company called R3, which is developing a private blockchain. So think about, when it comes to ledger, inherently what blockchain is that it records, it's an immutable record of your ownership. Whether you own a stock, and NASDAQ is very active, they just released a pilot program around that. For privately traded securities, they're keeping track of that in that blockchain, their own blockchain. So companies would like to develop their own blockchain, and as such, they are looking for banks that are involved, that's Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, they're looking for talent that can program, and the skill there is pretty much C++. If you know C++, you understand how the ledger technology works, you can pick it up, but you have to be focused enough and really pursue that, because if you don't have any prior experience, there'll be very little incentive for them to follow you, right, or to pursue you. So lots going on Wall Street. NASDAQ is very, very actively involved. 20 banks, as I mentioned, R3 is actively pursuing that. The challenges there would be that when it comes to banking in Wall Street, because blockchain is public, they would like to turn that into a private blockchain, private ledger. Regulations would be important, right? I work with a private bank. We're constantly being monitored by agencies, the securities, the regulators. So they're behind the curve, by the way, right? So if you go to SEC or FINRA, these individuals, they were trained 20 years ago when they finished their college education 20, 15 years ago. They have no idea what's going on in the industry. Kids who are now graduating from school, 22, 23, 25-year-olds who are skilled in the new programming languages, who are skilled in using bitcoins, they're the ones who are being given opportunity. But if you're a mid-level career professional who would like to make a transition, my advice would be to learn as much as you can about cryptocurrency, and then start to apply for a job perhaps as a project manager, to go into the mid-level role and take it from there. It's a great career.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Naveed Iqbal, I work for Citi. I'll make some general comments about these kind of technologies. So, you mentioned C++ is one of the common platforms that are being used to develop these technologies, but it's all about your passion, right? So if you're interested in developing different algorithms, if you're very interested in developing mathematical models, not only these technologies, but there are similar technologies around big data, leveraging cloud infrastructure, commodity hardware, right? So the name of the game is, what is it that you're really interested in developing a passion for? And don't isolate yourself with, if it's a cryptocurrency today, you can develop, try to pursue a career. We no doubt that banks are really focused on these kind of technologies. It remains to be seen on how much money is made in the next 5 to 10 years in that area. So if you really focus on developing a passion in analytics, developing algorithms, I think that will help you as well.
I would just add that, any technology that is disruptive technology, take an example of an iPod or any of those iDevices. There wasn't a market before, and the market was creative. So I wouldn't worry too much about, if the technology is being accepted or not. It is no doubt a disruptive technology. How much it takes on, remain to be seen. I think that's my personal opinion.
Thank you.
That's one quick question to you. So we talked about blockchain for 10-15 minutes here, almost. Very simple question, it might sound offending. How many people really did understand that? So we know from a novice layman perspective, when you go back home and explain what blockchain is to a 12-year-old, it's pretty much a database, in simple terms. It's a big data vessel that stores data in blocks. So I just want to understand, before we continue these conversations, we're not just moving on in a vacuum. We understand what this is, because this is an important session. This is the idea of these sessions are to educate each other while we are networking. So let's not just move on. If you don't understand, raise your hand and say, I didn't follow you. You're at a much higher level than what I was. Come down and talk to the lowest level what exactly blockchain is, because not many people still don't understand what blockchain is.
And then we won't be able to teach you what it is, right? But these are the trends that are out there. I'm sure half of you already know, half of you are not. Go and do your own research as well, right? And I'm sure you'll get connected with a lot of these people, and you can start your own blogs and what have you. So, any other question? Basil, I'm going to go to somebody else, right? Gentleman in the middle.
My name is Adil. I was kind of wondering, how do one get hired as a first full-time job? Because if you're skilled in, I'm skilled as a certified Hadoop developer, and I can do a little bit of predictive modeling with machine learning, but I can't do interviews at all. Is there a way you can join to work for free for a couple of weeks and then just get in or something like that? I don't know. I'm just wondering in this type of situation.
So let me understand the question. You're saying that you're just out of college, learn a few things and want to see how to get to your first job. Is that the question?
Yeah, anything related to these, because I'm feeling quite bad on this.
Sure. Okay. So a lot of companies, the trick is even as you are finishing up college and getting engaged, a lot of companies have summer intern programs and a lot of other programs. I know my company fully supports that. We actually have mandated that in technology, we hire 10% of our workforce right out of college. And we do a lot of work related to that. We train them a lot. They are really smart people, they are enthusiastic, a lot of energy and wants to get things done. And then the best thing is we can mold them in the processes that we have and not necessarily have to put up the initial fight, I would almost say fight if you will, when somebody comes in from another technology and another sort of concept and process. So I say look for those sort of companies, apply for that, and I think that's the best start. There are a lot of companies out there. You don't have to know interface to be programming. As long as you can program it. I mean, people are good at one thing or another. My long-term career advice is don't box yourself into that. Continue to learn new things.
So in my company, we are always looking for fresh graduates, and actually it's a strategy to have a fresh blood come in. But typically it happens is there are recruiting events happening at the universities. So you have to go to those recruiting events. You have to go to the Rutgers recruiting event, NYU, Pennsylvania, so these regional universities. So the recruiting events happen there and companies come there and they are looking for fresh talent. So you cannot just be doing programming, you have to go out and be part of that, those networking events.
So Umar, before we go back to the flow, right, you are, I think, one of those data scientists, right? What does that mean? How do I become a data scientist?
Yeah. So first of all, let me tell you good news. There are enough jobs in the US to take care of all of you and multiply by 10,000 more. Multiply by 10,000 more, there are enough jobs. There is so much data being created, it's amazing. And we are going to need all the people we can to analyze the data. So how do you do it and how do you get to it? So I will just explain in two broad categories. One is what is the overall technology trend, and the second is how you can get there. So the overall technology trend is cloud computing. That's the way to go. No one is going to be building physical infrastructure now. So people are going away from it, like my organization is going away from physical data infrastructure into the cloud, and I'm part of that cloud transformation project. But everyone is doing that. So there is a lot of scope in the cloud transformation. The other analytics, new tools are coming every day, and there's a lot of scope in that. Now, how do you learn? How do you keep yourself updated? Because what happens is, we keep on doing the same thing again and again. And if you keep on doing the same thing again and again, you will be obsolete and you'll be gone. So there are 2 or 3 things you need to do. First thing is curiosity, because that is the basics. It's a human, you have to build it a little more. You have to understand, how can I help the business, where the technology is going. And the second thing is, see problem as an opportunity. So if there's a problem, I worked on this thing for like 5 years, 10 years, now this is getting obsolete, well, that is good, something better is coming in. Let me go and understand what that is. So every problem is an opportunity. And the thing is, how you're going to learn new stuff. Now, the old method of learning is gone. That is not going to work. So that old method that we used to do a long time back is we used to buy a book on that subject. We used to read that book. We used to do exercises on that book. That is not going to work. Because before you have finished that book would have been obsolete. Because the technology is changing so fast. And you cannot read so much the way the technology is moving. So I would suggest a technique that I've been following and I've been very successful. And so I'm an active member of this ISCJ CAP. And my colleagues are sitting here. But one of the best ways to learn is to teach. So we did the SQL class here. I conducted that, the SQL, because I wanted to improve my SQL skills myself. So I said, why not if I teach it? If I have to explain it to someone, I have to understand it better myself. So let's do that. Then we said, well, what's big data? Why don't we understand it? Let's start a discussion. And we started this big data group. Analytics. The tools are changing every day.
Why don't you explain what big data is? Right? Maybe how other people may not know. I don't know.
Right. So big data is beautiful. So let me just explain cloud and big data. So the cloud, for example, now what we are doing is we spin up servers and we do our job and then we end it. So we pay by hour. That's a new concept. Big data is slightly different, but it's amazing. Previously, the servers used to grow vertically. You had to have like an IBM server, Oracle server, Microsoft server. You keep on growing, you add. So the server would grow to millions of dollars. The NAS equipment was worth millions of dollars if you scale it up. You have 48 cores, and then you have to pay license for 48 cores, and the licensing cost is hundreds of thousands of dollars for the server. So this new technology has emerged. So the old one was vertical scaling. So now the new technology is horizontal scaling and parallel computing. So, and it is utilizing commodity hardware. So instead of those expensive servers from IBM or Oracle or Microsoft, now you can use, like in the terms of the cloud, you can use the cheap EC2s, and that's what we do. We spin up EC2s as we need. We can have 2 EC2 servers, we can have 10, we can have 50, we can have 100. Use it for processing and then delete it. You actually now create and delete servers, and you just pay for usage. This is a very hot area. This is where the world is going. And the big data is that, you know, the old database technologies were asset-based because there was requirement for transactional integrity. So, but you could not do that high amount of I/O. But with the new stuff, the block sizes are much bigger. And you can process large amount of data and you do it in parallel. So that's parallel computing. But if you are interested, be part of our CAP.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let me just add very quickly, you talked about cloud, very hot topic right now. When it comes to cloud, you want to demystify the 3 underlying technologies behind the cloud. One is, I'm sure you've all heard of the SaaS, software as a service. So Salesforce, for example, would be one example of that. But where the real skills are, what companies are looking for, are there's an emerging technology called PaaS, platform as a service. And I think you would probably agree that back in the day when I started my career in technology on Wall Street, we had to build things from ground up. Now literally, if you can learn how to use PaaS, you can go to Amazon Web Services, AWS, get an account, start playing with PaaS. What that does, it gives you all the tools to develop and deploy and manage an application on the cloud. So very concrete, go back home today, go to Amazon Web Services, create an account, they give you the first, 200 hours for free. It's a great learning experience. You can develop a fully functional mobile app, literally over the weekend. The technology has been democratized to that extent, and it blows me away, right? IaaS is the third piece of that. So you've got 3 pieces: SaaS, PaaS, which is platform as a service, and there's a lot going on. Many of the fintech companies, startup companies, both in Silicon Valley and in New York. New York City, by the way, downtown has become the new innovation center. It's been rated as the #2 innovation center in this country after Silicon Valley. So if you're looking for a career, that's a great way to look. Yazan is going on. Make sure we stop. No, with the technology sector. And the third piece would be the IaaS. For those of you who are in the technology operations management, so you're managing servers, networking, storage, data, IaaS is a great skill. Learning how to move parts of the infrastructure to the cloud infrastructures, whether it's Amazon or Microsoft Azure or some other platform provider, VMware, for example. That's another very hard skill right now.
So, Mohan, can we go to you for, I'm sorry.
Sure. I mean, there's quite a bit of technologies that are being discussed, and I want to make sure that I'm answering the question. So, let's start with cloud. Basically, whoever has worked in mainframe systems, there used to be a mainframe central server, and there used to be dumb terminals. What innovation has done is it has brought us 360 back to those days. So your desktop clouds are basically now everything is running on the cloud back on that one server. and you're running for the most part dumb terminals. Why? Because internet has allowed us to do so.
Sir, question, who controls that cloud?
Who controls that internet?
Yes.
No one.
It's not the true cloud. I will say, Wallah, Azim is not the truth. Somebody is controlling to know our information, what is going on.
Well, the data scientist here is tracking all your information. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I mean, the information is out there. It's not necessarily a single area, a single authority that controls. You can say DARPA that it controls it all you want, but the truth is that 70% of the internet is .NET, and I would rather not go into those details here because, as you said, there are cameras and they're watching. So,
about cloud security and governance. I think that's the question he's asking.
I'm sorry, what?
I think the Imam's question is about cloud security and
Cloud security and
Cloud
governance.
security and governance. So, cloud security, it depends on what application you're using. As the brother mentioned, there is the software as a service. The vendor who's providing that software is responsible for the security of that, and that's the agreement that you're having with them. Similarly, platform as a service is the same thing. How many of us use Google Mail? Show of hands. How many has Gmail? I've got news for you. Every single word of your email is being read by machine learning softwares, categorize you, put you into a specific area, and that's how you see different ads. I recently been part of a company that we built from ground up and sold it to $1 billion company, and the job of that company was to track people when they go online and they search something. So if you go on and try to buy brakes, for example, for your car, we would know who you are, and everywhere else on the internet where we will see you, we will give you an ad, because chances are, if you want to buy brakes for your car, you're not going to wait for a very long time. So we had 24 different behavioral characteristics.
Interrupt you, sir. They are not answering the question of the answer.
Alright, so I don't know what else to answer, maybe some other panelists. Security concept?
One key lesson sitting in a masjid is never mess with the imam. So, not to be blasphemous here, but or sacrilegious, but let me see if I can answer your question. So, who owns the cloud? That was your question, sir? Who controls the cloud?
Who governs it?
So think about. So let me disaggregate the question. Look at the 5 or 6. The cloud is being, if you will, owned or controlled. If you look at the cloud global market, it's a $75 billion market. 5 companies, key companies, control more than 50% of that market share, global market share. Those companies are Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, HP is not one of those, Google, and you'll be surprised, Salesforce. Those are the 5 companies. Amazon alone has over 3.5 million servers in their cloud, right? So each cloud company is controlling its own set of hardware, right? Whatever information you're putting in on that hardware belongs to that company. They can, as my brother here just mentioned, they can do data mining all day long. Like Google does it all the time, right? For predictive analytics, for example. You've got to understand that cloud is not being controlled by one entity. There's no central government entity. Government may, for example, NSA may go to Google or Amazon and say, can we tap into your data for security reasons, if they're looking for certain individuals and so forth. But these individual companies are controlling bulk of the cloud. Hope that answers the question, sir? Okay, thanks.
I will just answer it in a slightly different way. These 5 countries may be managing the physical infrastructure, but actually, most of you people might know that whatever you do on the cloud, people have the capability to track it. Any website that you visit, it gets tracked. Any action that you do on the screen, any click you do, any option that you select is getting tracked. Now, mostly people are not interested in it, what you are doing, but if some people are interested, so the information is there, the information is getting logged. So that's a totally different topic, but the thing is that everything is getting logged, and this again is a data science area, depending on what your interest is, and it's going to need all the people in this room and more to analyze that data, because the data is a ton of data. For that, you're going to need big data technology, data science technologies.
So this data, right, it's accessible by everybody and anybody, most likely.